Imagine a candle flickering in a vast and silent hall. Its flame trembles over gold, catching the curve of a crown as shadows crawl up the walls. You've seen portraits of queens painted in divine perfection, their pale faces framed by silk and jewels. But what the portraits never captured was the smell. The Middle Ages glimmered on the surface, yet beneath the powder and prayer, filth festered. Water was mistrusted, sin was said to seep through open pores, and so perfume replaced bathing. Beneath those glorious gowns, queens carried a secret rot. When sugar arrived in Europe, it glittered like sanctified dust, sweeter than salvation, and Queen Elizabeth I devoured it like grace itself. Candied violets, syruped fruits, marzipan shaped like crowns. Each bite eroded her beauty. By midlife her smile had darkened, yet the court adored her so fiercely they copied the decay, staining their own teeth with soot to mimic the royal rot. Picture a ballroom bathed in candlelight, perfume thick as fog, and every laugh flashing rows of blackened smiles. The air itself became a confection of sweetness and sickness. Far from England, Queen Isabella of Castile made cleanliness an act of sin. During the siege of Granada, she vowed not to change her garments until victory. The siege lasted 8 months. When she rose from her knees in triumph, her linen clung to her skin like another body. Dirt to her was devotion. Across Europe, holiness and hygiene waged a quiet war, and the dirtier side often won. Royal women handled their own blood with rags rinsed in urine, a medieval detergent potent with ammonia, believing the stinging scent proof of purity. Physicians warned that bathing during menstruation could draw death inward, so the most powerful women in Christendom endured each month sealed in layers of fabric, incense masking flesh. The great halls of winter were heavy with candle smoke and something more human, a fragrance of sanctity and sweat. Every queen itched. Lice were loyal courtiers, feeding on crowns and saints alike. Servants combed through perfumed hair each dawn, collecting pale specks of life that wriggled across lace collars. The lice cloth burned daily, releasing a faint smoke of resignation. Some took the bites as blessings. St. Margaret of Hungary prayed while they crawled across her skin, calling each one a trial sent by God. Piety smelled like people. In these same courts, beauty itself became an executioner. Women painted their faces with white lead, a death that shimmered. The metal ate slowly, first pallor, then pain, then madness, but they called it radiance. When cracks appeared, they layered more. Beneath the powder, their skin dissolved. Yet still they smiled, dazzling under chandeliers, saints of vanity burning one flake of flesh at a time. For the eyes, belladonna, deadly nightshade, was dropped into pupils to widen them with a dreamlike gleam. Sight dimmed, but desire brightened. Medicine offered no rescue. When Queen Catherine of Aragon longed for a son, her doctors placed her over smoking bowls of herbs and dung, believing the fumes would wake the womb. The only thing it awakened was agony. Elsewhere, mercury was rubbed on sores. Vinegar scalded the skin, arsenic bleached the face, and every remedy carried its own slow ruin. The 1600s crowned vanity with wigs, monuments of human hair and animal fat rising like towers above the skull. They glistened in torchlight and rotted in secret. Inside their curls lived lice, mites, sometimes whole nests of things that thrived on perfume and powder. Servants brushed them nightly, rats gnawed them for the fat, and in the morning they were returned to royal heads, powdered again, sanctified by denial. The scalp beneath was shaved raw, blistered, hidden. Beauty, by then, had become a battle of endurance. Versailles was its cathedral. Marble corridors echoed with laughter and silk, but beneath the music lay filth no perfume could defeat. Thousands lived within its gilded cage. Plumbing lagged behind spectacle. Behind curtains, nobles relieved themselves. Under rush mats, wine, sweat, and waste fermented together into an invisible sea. Visitors wrote of roses masking rot, incense stinging the eyes, courtiers pressing perfumed handkerchiefs to their noses as the king held court amid invisible swarms. The scent of power was denial itself. For others, denial took the shape of sanctity. Saint Elizabeth of Hungary refused baths, called her sores God's jewelry, and slept in ashes. Her followers copied her devotion through deprivation. Dirt became proof of faith. In this strange theology, to wash was to doubt. The holier the stench, the closer to heaven. Legends like that of Countess Elizabeth Bathory, bathing in blood for beauty, emerged from such soil. Whether myth or metaphor, people believed it because they'd already seen the world where beauty fed on death. If a woman could paint her face with poison, could she not also bathe in the symbol of life itself? The story endured because it felt inevitable. By the coming of the Enlightenment, the perfume of denial began to fade. Soap replaced prayers, linen met water again, and cleanliness became a new gospel. Yet the ghosts of filth lingered. Queens still wore powder over scars left by centuries of superstition. The portraits survived radiant and silent, but they hide the truth, that beneath every layer of silk was another of suffering. The halls of power were cathedrals of scent, and the hymns of their worship were coughs behind fans, whispers behind veils, quiet prayers against infection. So when you gaze upon those serene faces framed in gold, remember what the artists omitted: the itch beneath the crown, the taste of metal behind a painted smile, the prayers whispered over unwashed skin. The queens of Europe ruled empires but never mastered themselves. They mistook pain for piety, perfume for purity, and rot for grace. Their palaces gleamed like heaven and smelled like hell. And as the candle burns down to its final spark, the truth flickers with it. The real plague of their age was not filth itself, but the faith that made filth sacred. Yet the story did not end when the soap arrived. Clean water did not simply wash away centuries of fear. The Enlightenment, with its microscopes and manifestos, believed it was banishing darkness, but every new ritual of cleanliness carried the memory of the old stains. The chemists who purified air and distilled perfumes were heirs of the alchemists who once brewed arsenic for beauty. The surgeons who insisted on washing their hands before touching a wound were haunted by the ghosts of queens who died from hands that never did. The courtly powders and poisoned paints were swept aside, but the desire beneath them, the hunger to transcend the body by perfecting it, survived intact. Humanity merely changed its instruments. Water replaced incense, light replaced faith, and yet the same trembling need to appear untouchable flickered in every polished mirror. Picture London at the turn of the 18th century. The city smells not of incense now, but of lye and bleach. Soap sellers shout purity from crowded streets. In parlors, ladies scrub their faces raw, terrified of visible pores. Cleanliness becomes a new moral code. The phrase "next to godliness" migrates from sermon to household motto. Dirt once holy becomes criminal. The beggar is condemned not for sin, but for smell. The pendulum swings, but its rhythm is the same. Where medieval queens mortified the flesh to please heaven, their descendants scour it to please society. Both bleed for approval. Science, still half-enchanted, provides justification. Physicians proclaim that water restores balance to the humors. Others warn that too much bathing weakens nerves. Everywhere, the body remains a battlefield between fear and faith. The barbers who once lanced veins now advertise tonics of sulfur and camphor. Chemists grind powders promising eternal youth. In France, new perfumers bottle hygienic waters, selling invisibility and scent. Cleanliness becomes commerce, and the body, once a vessel of sin, turns into a market. Even revolutions cannot escape its symbolism. Purity of blood, purification of the nation, cleansing of corruption. The vocabulary of hygiene metastasizes into the politics of virtue. Inside the drawing rooms, mirrors multiply. The reflection becomes a new confessional. No priest listens. The mirror judges silently. Women who once painted themselves white with lead now rouge their cheeks with safer pigments, but the gesture remains the same, masking mortality. Men soak their wigs in citrus oils, pretending the fragrance is health. The lice are gone, but vanity remains omnivorous. The Enlightenment praises reason, yet obsession grows ever more irrational. The more visible the light, the deeper the shadows of self-doubt. By the 19th century, plumbing snakes through palaces like veins of progress. Water sings through pipes, promising redemption in every bath. But the ghosts of Versailles linger in every tiled room. Perfume bottles still line the shelves, smaller altars to the same old gods. Doctors analyze sweat under microscopes and declare it impure. Advertisements preach that true virtue smells of nothing at all. The body must be invisible, odorless, seamless, a dream only wealth can sustain. The poor are blamed once more for smelling human. Filth becomes class. Dirt migrates from theology to economics. What was once sin becomes stigma, and the queens? Their portraits hang in galleries, varnished against time. Tourists marvel at the brushwork, never imagining the stink that once filled those painted halls. Yet if you stand long enough, you can almost hear the whisper of fabric, the rustle of 1,000 layers, the faint echo of powder brushed over trembling skin. They are still with us, those women of ritual rot. Every beauty standard that demands suffering, every fashion that bruises for elegance, every algorithm that filters the human out of the face, it is their afterlife. Because cleanliness, like holiness, always hungers for the absolute. The same urge that drove Isabella to wear her own grime as penance now drives millions to chase sterile perfection under fluorescent light. The same fear of contagion that made nobles perfume their filth feeds modern obsessions with sterilized surfaces and invisible germs. Technology did not save us. It merely refined the delusion. We drown in scented soaps, in whitening creams, in digital filters, and still call it purity. The candle has become a ring light. But the glow is the same illusion. Imagine centuries later, a museum attendant dusting a portrait of Elizabeth I beneath her painted skin. The lead still lies dormant, gleaming like frost under the varnish. The poison is preserved better than the flesh ever was. Across the room, a visitor lifts a phone, capturing her smile through glass, editing it instantly, brightening, smoothing, erasing pores. The gesture is ancient. Every touch of the screen repeats a motion once made with brush and powder puff, a ritual of self-correction. The tools change. The worship endures. In the end, what the Middle Ages began, the war between appearance and decay, never truly ended. It merely changed its vocabulary. Where the priest once counted sins, we count calories. Where nobles once smoked herbs to cleanse the womb, we detox with green juices. The body remains suspect, something to be managed, purified, transcended. We still dream of being stainless, even if the cost is humanity itself. The queens would understand. They died seeking holiness in dirt, beauty in poison. We too chase perfection in mirrors that lie. Walk again through those corridors of power in your mind. The rush mats are gone, but the echo of footsteps remains. The perfume has faded, but the idea of masking never left us. Every era invents its own scent of denial. The Victorians hid desire behind lavender water. We hide mortality behind antiseptic gloss. The same fear still hums beneath civilization's skin, that the body, left to its truth, will betray us. That to be clean is to be worthy. So the story of the queens becomes a parable for every age that mistakes control for grace. Their dirt was not mere ignorance. It was belief made visible. Our cleanliness is not progress. It is anxiety polished to a shine. Between them lies the same abyss, the terror of being merely flesh. The candle guttered centuries ago, but its smoke still lingers, twisting upward like memory, carrying the scent of roses laid over decay. In that smoke lives the truth of every civilization that confuses beauty with virtue, that behind every gilded mirror, something human still rots quietly, unseen, waiting for someone to notice the smell.